guys, this is my current rifle setup, but it wasn't always like this. This is where we end up. This is far from where I started. So let's go back to where I started. This is where I started. Savage Axis, 30-06. My buddy and I figured out how to do a trigger job on it so it had a lighter trigger pull. I was shooting Federal Fusion, 150 grain out of this thing, just a good old Kentucky deer rifle, if you like to call it. I eventually got it threaded. I put a one-piece scope mount on it, and it came with like a Bushnell 3-9. At some point over the years, I saw Randy Newberg doing all this elk hunting and stuff, so I went ahead and picked me up a VX5 HD 3-15. Then I started running into scope mount issues, so I learned about rings, torque specs, and torquing your scope mounts down with a torque wrench in inch pounds and Loctite. And now that's how I do everything, along with levels. So, getting a little ahead of myself here. Savage Axis, super light gun, accurate as heck. On paper, does the job more than I'd ever need. But I just wanted more. I kept getting the crap kicked out of myself because it doesn't have a comp or a brake on it or anything. So I upgraded to this Boyd's synthetic wood stock, and it's very eye appealing, and it helped manage recoil a little bit. And then I finally learned about comps, brakes, and suppressors. And at some point along the way, I just kind of decided that I wanted more. This was not doing it for me anymore, and it was just time to, this was at the time the weak point in my hunting, so I decided to upgrade. And I was like, well, all the big game Western hunters always use 300 Win Mag, 300 Win Mag, 300 Win Mag. So I went out and got a Savage 110 LR, which is a 26-inch barrel 300 Win Mag. Again, at the time, big fan of the VX5 HDs, so I picked another one up. You know, got the custom dial system with the engraved dope on here. Great, because at the time, I didn't know anything about dope. I was just doing holdovers. Believe it or not, I was doing holdovers with the original rifle setup. And at some point along the way, I started learning about dope and actually spinning an elevation turret so that I could hit 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 yards and stuff. So I upgraded to the 300 Win Mag. I took this on my second elk hunt, and I realized that this thing is way too freaking long, and it's heavy. That being said, it is also so freaking loud. I was on a sheep hunt, and there was a group of sheep running away from us. This thing holds 3+1. And after my third shot, I stopped shooting because my ears were ringing so bad that I did not want it physically hurt. And then for about 5 hours after that, whenever my buddy was with me, looking at me, talking to me, I'd hear, So I'd have to stop, look at him very intently, and try and read his lips. Miserable. Also, scope. Again, just basic crosshair. Very traditional Leopold VX5 HD with the engraved dope turn. Right? Nothing wrong with it. Works great. Honestly, more than what 99% of people want or need or will ever have to use. Great setup. I was shooting the Barnes TTSX 180 grain boat tail, not hollow point, but they're tipped. And I want to say the BDC on them was 0.484, right? So I started learning about BDC and dropper bullets and how wind affects range and stuff like that. And so at some point I was like, yeah, the 300 Win Mag's nice and it's accurate. This thing stacks them at 100. But I just don't think this is the right rifle setup for what I'm going for. It's heavy, it's long, it's a little unwieldy, and I felt that I could be more accurate and more better with more zoom and a different scope setup. So what I went to was what I use now. Savage 110 Ultralight, chambered 30-06. We stepped it back down. And at the time when I first got this rifle, I had a VX5 HD on it. Now we have a Razor 4.5 to 22 LHT. Phenomenal. Love it. Big fan. I Vortex now does the elevation engraving turrets. However, I went with the Kenton Industries because they do the elevation engraving turrets. They do the dope engraving for the elevation, but they also, if you want to, will leave MOA marks on it. So I have both. That has bit me in the butt one time so far. Hasn't happened since. I'm good now. But anyway, the rifle and its current configuration with the suppressor is still under 8 pounds. So it's really light. She's a shooter. I got a comp on underneath the suppressor. This is a dead air suppressor. And it's just literally a factory off-the-shelf Savage 110 Ultralight carbon fiber barrel 30-06. You know, big fan of my bipods. I usually do the 9 to 13 that shoot out like that. And honestly, there's been one time where I've had to shoot off the pack, but every other time I've managed to just lay down and get this done and you know, crush it. For the ammo, big Federal guy, mainly because they give me a 40% discount because of military discount. I decided to just go on Federal's website and I got the bougiest, nicest, best mathed out, if that makes sense, ammo for 30-06 that I could find, which is their Federal Trophy Copper Premium. 180 grain. The BDC on this is .523, which means it combats wind and drop really freaking well. Excuse me, not drop, but wind really well and outside abnormalities, right? So it's just a super high performance round, and it's solid copper like the Barnes is that I used on the 300 Windbag, and I just came to really love that setup because they don't separate, they just mush. So I switched to this. And at some point I decided I could be more accurate with more zoomies and a front focal plane setup versus Leopold rear focal plane setup, and I also have a Christmas tree, an MOA in this. So you can do quick holdovers, or you can dial, or when I shot 1,000 yards on my bear hunt just to do it, you can also do both. And then also for wind holdings, which I really don't do while I'm hunting 9 times out of 10, unless there's some serious crazy stuff going on. But I just felt if I can be more accurate with it, why not be more accurate with it? So it's kind of more of it is a hunting scope, but it's more of a target scope on a hunting setup. And I am very satisfied with it. I've been very happy about how it performs. She's a shooter. She's a real nice shooter. She's light, and she thumps. She doesn't recoil hard. She dumps whatever I'm shooting at. Anyway, at some point along the way, when I was still trying to figure out how to do dope, because when I first got into shooting and hunting and stuff, I started out doing holdovers, right? Then I got the engraved turrets. At some point, but I was still trying to dope out rifles, and I was legitimately guessing by using the bullet drop compensation on the back of the box that Federal usually puts on their websites, and then just legitimately guessing, trying to hit targets, right? No freaking clue. It's always hard to pull, it's always easy to pull somebody up to your level, but when you don't have anybody above you or somebody to pull you up to their level, it gets a little difficult. Anyway, at some point, talked to somebody and found out about a Kestrel and how it has all the answers, right? And this is the answer to the situation for what is my dope. So, yes, I have engraved dope on my turret, and most of the time I do go off of it, but we get to the point where I'm about 500 to 600 yards is the transition point, not saying that I've shot game at 500 or 600 yards. I think my sheep hunt, the most recent one, 400, was very consistent. But at some point I switched from that to this and use it to get dope using barometric pressure, wind, all that stuff, temperature, humidity, yada, 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 yada. So this is what we end up with, and this is what we're currently going with. I do not foresee a need to upgrade this at all. I am very happy with the setup, and I think this is just where we're going to be at for a while. With my pack, I know you've seen it in the videos. I really like how this rifle sits on my shoulders. It's just literally just put it back there and sits. I do have a sling for when I ride horses. The These are $3 or $4 at Walmart, and they hold 10 shells. Just just a real nice setup, and I've been beating this rifle's ass, but it's just been performing, and I could not be more happy with it. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. One more thing I forgot to add: suppressors. Phenomenal, huge fan, big fan of them. There's been times where on my elk, I shot over. I did a standing freehand shot. Didn't get on camera, did a standing freehand shot over him. The elk didn't know where the shot came from, so it legitimately jumped, turned around 180 degrees. I dropped down to one knee, got stable, shot it, and dumped it, right? So it's given me follow-up shots on that. And then I've been on the sheep hunts and stuff where the other sheep will legitimately, like, I dump my sheep, and the other sheep will just stand there and kind of stare at them because they don't know what happened. Right, the sheep's down there on the ground dying, and the rest don't. So and then being hearing safe is so nice. You can go to the range. I can shoot it all day. Just super quiet. It's not super quiet, but it's hearing safe. I don't have to wear ear pro. Right? If you've worn ear pro for 2+ hours, like your ears get all sweaty, get annoying, your ears get irritated. So it's just hearing safe, which makes it generally just really nice. And again, eats about 50% of recoil. So, huge fan of hunting suppressed. Big recommendation.